Yo,
What up?
glasses.
Excellent. Alrighty.
All right. So I took some notes down. Well, as far as things I want to cover, or what I was thinking about covering with this live. So, I guess you want to start, Shane?
Yeah, so I the play, right? That's the topic. Um
But you
and
want to talk about how people can reach us?
yeah, so let's start off with this, right? So first of all here, this webinar is about play. Play is an important aspect of just life with your dog, right? Like we want to play with them. Play really gives a lot of outlets. And so a lot of folks, they are doing neighborhood walks all the time and whatnot. And so it's like if you struggle with your dog and these are things that you do with your dog, you maybe don't have they're crazy in the house, they're only get these walks multiple times a day, but you're just struggling with them, like we can help you. And there's a link in the bio. If you click on the Kindred Dog page on the uh, name, there's a link in bio where you can book a call and we can spend 20 minutes chatting about your dog, what's going on, things you've been doing, things you've been trying, and go with a game plan to help you out and start seeing results. So it's like you can actually start enjoying life with your dog. So if you want some help, click that link in the bio under the Kindred Dog page. All right. Um, and yeah, so let's go ahead. Ruben, you had some ideas of what you kind of wanted to talk about there.
Yeah. So, Brandon Pups, thanks for joining. So we're gonna talk about play, like Shane mentioned. Why you want to play with your dog, as Shane just briefly discussed right there. Different kinds of play. There's tug, there's fetch, there's personal play. Um, so there's other kinds. So we'll get into different kinds of play, talking about the benefits of play, uh, what you get out of play, because playing with your dog isn't just like playing with your dog to like tire them out. While that is a byproduct of it. Um, it's actually so much more. Okay. And so there's several things I want to be talking about. We got a couple bullet points there. Um, and so, like I said, we'll get into that. So first off, why do you want to play with your dog? So the obvious reasons is to tire your dog out, right? Like it gives them fulfillment in that regard. It expends a lot of energy, so you want to tire your dog out. However, playing with your dog also builds relationship. Okay, I think about this because your dog is an animal that looks at things that are valuable to them, and in order for us to get our dogs to want to do things for us, they need to see us as valuable. And we can't just be the rule setters, and oftentimes in households, it's always like dogs do fun things away from their owners, and the owners are associated with negative things. They're always telling the dog no. They're always like,
Take
you
the dog
know,
down.
they're always just like shutting the dog down, like, don't do that. Okay. So we need to be seen as a multifaceted individual to our dogs. So it builds relationship. I was having a conversation with a client the other day that said that I was saying like their dog wants, plays by themselves. And I was like, okay, that's, you know, okay, your dog plays by themselves. And I was explaining why we want to get your dog to play with you. It's like they want to have that dog to be able to recall them and stuff like that. Um, and I was like, I'm sure your dog loves throwing that toy up in the air and playing by themselves. I'm sure they have a fun time doing that for a little while. But then I was thinking, so I might like to kick a ball against the wall, you know, for a couple of minutes. Cool. I'm kicking a ball against the wall. But how much more fun would that game be if there was a second person in there? and added some challenge into that game. We'd be having fun now. They're psyching me out. They're like, hey, look at that. And they score a goal on me, and now the game is more dynamic. Okay. And that analogy totally just resonated with them. It was like, that makes a lot of sense. You'll have fun, your dog will have more fun, but you're building up a reason why you want your dog to be with you. You can
I want
also build rules in that game. Okay.
there
You
before we
you
go into the rules. I want to add something into your why thing, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned it just a second ago of like, a lot of people go to get the dog tired, right? And so it's like, I mean, you see this all the time. You go to the park, someone shows up with a chuck it, and they just chew, chew, chew. The dog brings it back, spits it out. By the time the dog spits it out and the ball rolls up to the person's feet, the dog's already back down to the field, right? It's the constant reps of, I gotta tire you out, 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 tire you out, tire you out. But they were about to get into this. There's no rules, right? The dog's not thinking at all, and it's like your involvement in the game. You're just a dispenser, right? The dog isn't focused on you; it's focused on the ball or the toy, right?
Mhm.
It's like there's no there's no reason for you to what are you in there? Again, you're just the dispenser, right? Like that's it. And going back to the thing, you want the dog to recall with you. It's like you're just the dispenser. Like you're not an interactive part of the game,
Mhm.
right? Like I can't tell you how many times people came to us with like a boarding training. They have their oh yeah, we go to the park and we play ball, but the dog doesn't listen for shit with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, it's just like there's nothing. There's no real dynamic in the relationship. You know what I mean? And so it's like the why, like you have to be involved in the game. That's just it, right? It's a two-way street, and if it's only one way, like regardless if it's like a cooperative game like fetch or a competitive game like tug, you have to be involved in the game,
Yeah.
right? So I just want to chime in on that. Go ahead with the rules part thing that you're talking about there.
So yeah, you can put some rules into the game. Every good game has rules, right? Have you ever played a game where there is no rules? They all have rules. And these are like life things that you can build with your game. Okay. You can build better listening. If your dog is aroused, they're excited, so you can get better listening out of them. You can get impulse control. Okay, can your dog not go after the toy when it's in your hand? That's impulse control. You want your dog to not be reactive to something. Can they not go after a toy? If they can't do that, are they really should be expected to like not blow up at the dog that they see?
Or chase the squirrel.
Or chase the squirrel. Um, you get fulfillment, right? Like animal specific fulfillment. Dogs don't fetch in nature. That is a man made game. Okay. And these are things that I wasn't aware of beforehand, but we went to a seminar and this trainer was talking about it. His name is Jay Jack. You should really check him out. But fetch is a thing that we humans developed for the dog, right? And it's probably started from hunting. Okay, like go fetch um, the duck that I shot.
The
You
retreat.
know,
It's
the
really a retreat.
retrieve. And so it's probably morphed into that. So animal specific play, specifically prey based playing, where your dog is practicing the cycle of hunting essentially. And you can throw fetch into that game. Okay. But these are the things that are going to lead to more overall fulfillment for your dog. So again, why do you want to play? It builds your relationship, it builds rules, it builds impulse control, it builds life skills, it builds confidence, it gets your dog more excited to be with you. That's what those are like the main benefits from that. So talking about different kinds of play. So there's tug play, which Shane briefly touched on, which is like competitive. Okay. And then there's fetch, which is cooperative. Then we have personal play, which is,
Yeah, what is personal play?
you like wrestling with your dog. They're chasing you. Maybe you're chasing them. You're, wrestling. You're wrestling on the ground. I think all of that stuff is because it's, like two dogs playing, right? Like, like people might have multiple dogs and their dogs wrestle all the time, but then like the humans don't wrestle with their dog or something. So, you can absolutely wrestle with your dog and get physical with them. Then I think there's a place for, I don't know if this fits into play. Maybe you can tell me differently, Shane, what your thoughts are, but like, um, snuffle mats, it's like those are engaging. Those are like, they're engaging their mind, but I don't know if I would classify that as like
It's not a game.
play.
It's not a play. It's not a game, right? It's a
Yeah.
job.
And then like, like those hurting balls, I think that could be play, but the way in which you do it, I think, can matter because the hurting ball kind of reminds me of like a spring pole, where it's like I send the dog to the spring pole, they tug on it, I recall them off of the spring pole, and I can send them back. Much like the hurting ball, it's like you can herd it around. I might call you away from it and then send you back to it. So I think for play, it's going to be like, yeah, tug play, fetch, a flirt pole of
Well,
something.
I would classify that as play, as an activity of play, especially the dog finds a lot of enjoyment with that game, right? However, though, like what? So it's like when we look at, like, for example, like tug, right? Like me and the dog, we compete against each other, right?
Yeah.
The If we're doing like like thinking about like fetch, like it's also like I'm like competing with the dog, right? But it's like we're not. It's like I'm throwing the ball, whatnot, So again, it's just like we're doing this together, and then even the same thing with like the flirt pole, but instead of it being like a chase, right? So like fetch mimics chase, all right? The dog needs to catch prey. Fetch can mimic the idea of chase. Your herding ball, it mimics herding, right? It's like the flirt pole. You can send the dog out to go compete against the toy, right? Not competing against you, it's competing against a toy. But then you bring them back out. But you need to be there to give the guidance. You know what I mean? So it's like it can turn tug into being, instead of competitive, to a cooperative game, right? We're doing it together towards a goal. We're kind of here, but you get to go out there and go after the thing yourself. You know what I mean? And the same thing can be said with like the herding ball. Replace spring pole, like you were saying, with the herding ball, and you're like, go get it. Go herd. Whatever your cue is to go release the dog, go do that. Okay, they're doing it. All right, come back, hang out, chill. And they're like, yeah, that was awesome. And you're like, I know that was awesome. You did great. You know what I mean? But it's like, to make it valuable, again, like this is just the recurring theme, is like you need to be there. And then it turns into a cooperative game.
Yeah. So the cooperative game is something that's more like the spring pole would be a cooperative game
Uh-huh. Just as it's
because,
said, right? There's no conflict between you and the dog happening. But
yeah.
you need to be a part of it in order for the game to happen.
Yeah, and then the herding ball would be a cooperative game because there's the target, which is the ball, and me and you are sort of working together. Like, I might be like, hey, heel, get it. Like
Exactly.
I'm sending you out. The flirt pole seems like it would be more of a competitive because I
You are making the
am
dog miss.
I'm making the dog miss.
Mm-hmm.
And then tug play is going to also be competitive because I'm challenging the dog and yeah, again, like making them miss.
The goal is
Uh,
to get the toy away from the dog, and the dog is trying to get the toy away from you.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like you're
Gotcha.
competing against one another. So
Yeah,
that's how I would see those kind of games, right? When it's just like you're working towards a common goal. Yeah, that's getting you to go get the spring ball, getting you to go get the herding ball. Like we're working together for that purpose. For you to chase that ball, we're working together.
Hmm.
cooperative. But when we're starting to compete, where it's just like, I don't want you to get this toy. I got my flip pole and I'm making you miss. Oh, you got it. But even then, when they catch it, you're still trying to get it away from them,
Yeah.
right? And then just same thing with the tug. They have the tug, and you're trying to, can I get the tug away from you? But they're like, can I get the tug away from you? So we have the competition there.
Yes. And competition is healthy. Okay. Um, I think that's oftentimes a missing piece in people's play with their dogs. Is even when they are playing tug, it's mostly just the dog tugging on the toy. You know?
Or, or it's the dog being like thrown about while they're holding on for dear life, and the person's like, and the person,
Yeah.
and it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's not like it's 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 not very intentional. And that's one of the things that I think we've both learned in recent years is that your play should be intentional, right? It's not just like I'm going to hold on to this toy while you're tugging on it and I'm like checked out, you
Yeah.
know? And again, yeah, it's not just like I'm doing all these crazy movements with the dog um just for them to like hold on, right? It's like I want the dog to work for it. Um so with the tug play specifically, we're talking about prey based, like this like model of prey based play. So it's like chase, catch, kill, celebrate, and then consume. Okay, we take the dogs through all of the steps except for the consumption phase, which is them, eating the thing, right? We don't want them to chew up the toys, so we don't want to buy more toys. Okay. Um, but the chase, catch, kill, celebrate, right? And then we out the dog. So then we can like start that sequence over. And this does a lot of things for your dog's psyche, right? These are animals, they're prey animals. Okay. And it's important for them to have an outlet for that. That is something that's missing in a lot of dogs. Okay. And I think I think this could be, something that just adds to maybe our dog's like overall frustration, or we're talking about like anxieties. You know what I mean? Like people will not play with their dogs if they don't know how to fetch, right? It's almost like they don't fetch. So like, what the hell do I do with this dog? Because they don't tug or something, and because again, it goes back like fetch isn't natural, but tug is natural. Like you get a puppy, they're gonna chase that toy. They will 100% chase it. Older dogs might not know how to tug because they were actually never taught how to play tug. But then you can bring that back out of them, because it's just like, hey, you've never done it's in you. You know how to do it, but we have to bring it
I
out
think
of you.
it's important to note that the games are all man-made constructions. They all are fetch and tug, right?
Yeah, but
You
tug
have,
is more in line with
but why would it?
natural behaviors.
But a dog chases prey,
Yeah,
chases
and
the
your
ball.
tug is prey.
Yeah, but it also chases the ball when you throw it to go fetch, right? That's why the dogs will chase the ball but not bring it back because they chase prey, right?
Exactly. But
But
the
but
whole fetch thing is you go and you bring it back. So like
yeah,
that's the
but
man-made
but
part.
also like with tug though, it's like we like when so if you're playing with the dog with tug, like what's probably one of the most important aspects with playing tug is the out, which I would say
Yeah.
is equivalent of bringing the ball back to you, right? And so it's like because it's like if you don't out the toy, it's like we're going to be going at this thing for however long, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, even like so, even though you don't even have an out, we create an end to the game, correct? So we're like
Hmm.
tug 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 enough.
Yeah.
Game is over. And the dog's like, all right, there's an end to this thing, right? Where naturally, let's say dog out in the wild, right? It hunting in a pack, let's say. right? I remember watching this documentary on like wild dogs, and it's like they go out there, they catch the prey, whatnot. But let's say there's now competition for this piece of meat. Like there's going to be, it's going to come apart, and they're going to walk away satisfied with their catch, and then they go to the consuming, right? And so it's like we have to put in our human aspects of things of like, well, you're not going to destroy my tug toy. Like we want to continue to play this game. It's like that's not going to happen. This is what we need to have our either you let the dog win the toy before they go to start getting it. You go to that celebration aspect, and then what do? You bring them back to you to get back into the game, or you go out so you can grab the toy to come back into the game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
so
would say tug is a closer approximation to what a dog would be doing with chasing prey, because when they're chasing prey, they are chasing it on the ground. They're dynamic with their movements. They are turning left, they're turning right, they're stalking. They're doing all of these aspects. They're actually biting onto it and holding onto it, and you can move your tug toy in such a way
I
that
all of that I
mimics
100% agree with.
an animal that's like trying to escape their grip,
Yeah,
and it causes the dog to have to try harder to hold on to that prey,
yeah,
so I do think, yeah, they're all man-made because we have to fit this dog into our world, and we aren't going hunting with our animals. And I would imagine our dogs would be totally different if they hunted for all of their meals.
yeah.
If
But
they
I
took
think
them out to the field and it was like, go hunt, like they're gonna come back so tired and maybe hungry because they didn't catch anything.
yep.
you know, uh,
You brought in a good point though. It's like that it's like the dog, like so like all right. So I was saying fetch does use natural drives of the dog, right, to chase, but tug brings out more of the natural needs, right? And so it's like you were talking about, you can pull the toy out, mimics the animal trying to get away, right? Because it might, and then they have to go back into the chase really quick.
yeah,
Like there's so many little details I think that go into tug, and like you're saying, it's like if the dog, like you want to touch on these things, right? Because again, it's like it's going to bring out those natural things. Like again, the dog goes hunting for its food and doesn't get anything. Guess what? It's going to try harder the next time.
yeah,
You know what I
mhm,
mean? And I'm
yep,
probably going to be like, what did I do differently, right? So it's like the thing got out of my mouth, right? So just like when we're going back to the dog playing tug, it's like when like you watch that dog go to regrip and you go whoo, and you're able to get that toy away. That dog's like, I'm going to be much more sure about my grip the next time I have a hold of that toy. You're not. I'm not falling for that again.
hmm
It's like when you snap your fingers and they're like, "What's that?" And then you get the toy and they're like, not again. Fool me once, but not twice. Then you
yeah,
go there and you go, and they're like, they don't let go.
yeah,
They
exactly,
loosen up their grip. They're like, I'm not losing this.
hmm
Um,
yeah. So your tug play can mimic, like I was mentioning, the chase, catch, kill, celebrate aspects of it. And the celebration, well, so yeah, we've got the chase, which is just like what it sounds like, right? Chasing the toy and being dynamic with your movement. So you don't put it in your dog's face. The dog comes to the toy, right? Prey doesn't fall into your dog's mouth. They have to work for it. They have to lunge for it, right? So you want to be moving it in such a way that creates that mobility. And then they're going to catch the toy, right? That means they're going to bite onto it. And so now they have the prey in their mouth and you're holding onto it. You can move it around a little bit, jerk it around, wait for them to try to re-grip, and you take it away from them. And then the chase continues. uh the kill part is essentially where your dog is going to win the toy. So you have they're tugging on it from you, you let go, they win it. That's where they might shake it. Okay, you've all seen it. They shake the toy, and then you can create this yourself, which is having them on a leash and doing what we call like a victory lap, and having your dog just running with the toy with their catch in their mouth, and then you can reel them in and then you know, we mark it with like a yes, right? Because we want to encourage the dog to like bring it back, and then this is where that cooperation or that competitive nature is going to start back up again. Because I mean, maybe Shane, you can say in your experience, but what I can tell is like the dogs love that competitive part of it. Like
Yeah.
when you bring it back and you start tugging on that again, it's like it something clicks in their brain and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's the best part." You know, I mean, I had another client tell me this, like the dog caught a rabbit or caught something. Didn't do anything else with it, but I was like, I mean, in my mind it made sense because the chase is the best part. Like the chase, the catch is like that's where the adrenaline is pumping. You know, it's like, oh yeah, this is like the end is cool, but the the fight is where it was at. You know, it's like I was thinking about like my jujitsu competition when it was like, you know, I got second place and like that was cool, like that was the end result of it, but like being in the competition was the best part. Like being like wrestling another person, you know, like having to think, having to do all that stuff was like the best part. And then okay, yeah, I got this medal at the end of it, but like that's not.
I think I think it depends on the dog, right? I think different dogs will enjoy different aspects of the game,
Yeah.
right? So it's like if you think about some dogs, which I've seen, you know, you go play, 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 they thrash, and you let go, and you're like, oh, that was great job, and immediately they're running back at you to push the toy into you, right? Because like that type of dog likes the competition. They like the actual battle between you and playing the dog. Like they like, yeah, try and get it from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They like that. They like the confrontation. Whereas some dogs like they want to play because they want to win because they want to consume the toy. You know what I mean? They like I want to actually chew this thing up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so and then other dogs it's like they like you know they want to you know like they like the chase aspect of this I think so where it's like you know you make a miss oh, okay yeah they not be so heavy like in the thrashing aspect but they might pull you know what I mean but then
Yeah.
like you know like you can you know you let them win okay hey you get the play back out and then it's like you can make a miss multiple times, but then they give them the win and they're like, yeah. And then they try to go back to pulling again. You know what I mean? It's like they can very much favor certain aspects of the game. And I think
Yeah.
that depends on the dog. But it's like you in the grand scheme of things, you always run through the cycle of stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's not just like heavily weighed in on one way. So even that dog that like wants to come into you and constantly like push into you with the tug toy, it's like when you let him win, it's like, hey, guess what? This celebration where I hold the leash and I run you around in the circle, it's like this also like helps it put a break in the game.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? The dog that wants to just go back to chewing on it, it's like, no, we're gonna have you like celebrate your win by like having you come back around this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like you still run through all of the pieces, but you're always touching on the spots that the dog enjoys. You know?
Yeah. So here's a question. What would you know, because people are going to rewatch this. What do you think people should look for when trying to decipher like what aspects of the game do they like? You know, like what sort of tells is their dog going to give them? Like what things can they look for that would be like, "Oh, my dog, he likes to fight. They like the tugging aspect of it, you know? How do I tell if my dog prefers the chase side of it? You know, how can I decide if, you know, the win is the best part for them and it doesn't matter, you know, so how would an owner look at like what what does my dog prefer because that's going to influence like how I play with my dog. So like for me, for example, like Lucy's a blue heeler, you know, maybe this could be also thinking about what are maybe some traits in our dog, like what our dog
Yeah.
is as a breed to maybe help steer us in the direction of where to go. So like with Lucy, for example, like, you know, I used to play tug with her and she liked it. Um, but I've started doing more like flirt pole stuff with her, like a squirrel on a toy, you know, because I started to think about her as a breed. Like, okay, she's a blue heeler, you know, she stalks cattle, and so I'm like, okay, what do cattle do? Like, they, you know, she has to be observant of them and like what they're doing, like their movements and stuff. So she's like following. Like the squirrel is sort of my approximation for cattle, where I'm dynamic with the squirrel. She stalks it, she'll chase it, you know, but I'm moving it like left and right, and you know, because I know she's a very like observant dog, you know, and she's actually not super into the tug aspect of it because she doesn't really like the physicality of it, you
Yeah.
know, like if I like push into her, she's gonna like let go. You know, she's gonna be like, oh, I don't like that. You know, whereas like Mayala, the old dog, like she was a bulldog, right? And like she loved the tug play. You know, like you could smack her. She's on the tug. You can smack her around, lift her up. You know, she's like putting her paws on your leg, and she's like, "I'm taking this freaking toy from you." You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she would be like super into it. Um, so yeah, like maybe yeah, you could tell a little bit on like what could people do to figure out, you know, what's going to be the best game for their dog.
So I think, all right. So, you know, just like
I'll
you
be
gave,
right back.
yeah, you gave two contrasting ideas of like a healer and also bulldog. And so I think really like breed is going to be a big thing in this. Um, right. So it's like a dog that's like a bulldog, a little pitty mix or something. They're probably going to enjoy more of the actual conflict, right? That's going to be the actual tugging itself. Um, Versus a dog that's not one of those things. They might like the tug, but they'll probably enjoy some of the other aspects of it, the chase, you know, and that like may determine maybe if you're going to actually play like, you know, tug, you're going to go with the flirt pole. Um, you know, so going back to like the pitties, right, the bulldogs or something, you know, those are the dogs that I see that like to have more of the like I want to tug, right? And so how will I tell if that's what they enjoy doing? It's really going to be the intensity of their efforts. And so a dog that is very much like thrashing, like strongly, you know, pulling very strongly. You know, this could also be a lab too. I've seen a lot of labs like this. Like if they're putting in a lot of effort to try to get the toy from you, it's like they're really enjoying the actual like let's get this, right? Um, and especially if you let go of the toy, what do? Do they push back at you to try to get more of the tug? Like that's going to be a sign that they really enjoy the actual tugging aspect. If the dog wants to go more to consume, it's like I think they're just trying to like they probably enjoy the interaction between us of the tug, but I think they also want to get to having the possession of the toy, right? Because they want to consume, and so it's like they like to have it. So that might be where I'm like, okay, we can tug, and I might not have a strong duration of what it takes, or maybe I build up to a strong duration of the actual tug game because you can build that up in the dog, but it's like you let them win, and you can parade them around to celebrate their win, bring it back in, a little bit of tug, right? And the same thing can be said is like if you were to like out them and then be like, get it, throw the tug, they come back. You can again, you could as they bring the toy back to you, you have them on a leash. You can do the roll around, get back into a tug, but watch what they do. Do they give a lot of effort? Do they naturally give a lot of effort? If they give a lot of natural effort, you probably do more tug, right? If you see them like in the chase, I might mix in more of like a toss. You know, you don't have to throw it all the way down there, but it's like a simple toss to the ground and they have to go get it. Oh, yeah, that was a great job. Get them to run around, bring them back up. But you just got to watch what they're showing you, what they give. And again, like I mentioned just a little bit ago, it's like you can build things up in the dog, right? And so it's like I've had dogs come in and they're like, I like to tug, but I really don't understand like what it means, you know? And so it's like they spit the toy out, I go and take it and I run with it. And then they're like, oh, oh, I can hold on to that. I want that again. And you do that enough times, they're going to stop to spitting the toy out because they want to maintain the possession of it. And then they actually start to enjoy the actual competition of the tug games. And then it's like they're holding on, and we can start where the tug game would go for like little 3-4 second intervals. It's like now we're getting 10, 15, 20 second intervals of the actual tug game before there's like a release and the dog gets a toy and we do a celebration. And so
Mhm.
it's like watch the dog of what they offer, but it's like if you see that they struggle to want to engage in the actual tug, it's like they might like more of a chase. And so you might even like not do too much of a tug, but go into a flirt pole to where it's like, yeah, you can chase this thing around more, catch it, we can tug a little bit, but then I'm gonna have to work on you getting to spit it out. So you can go back to this chasing aspect.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you have you like again, like we mentioned at the very beginning of this, it's like you 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 have to be very aware and but also intentional in what you're doing. So you have to watch your dog, right?
Mhm.
Like observing them is going to help you figure out what they like. Because my dog, yeah, it's tugging, but it's like it doesn't tug so strong. It probably likes more chasing, right? That tug can help be like a little icing on the cake to where you're, you know, once you get the catch and you're like, oh, you got it, da, 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 da. You know, walking around in a circle with you have the because you can still do a celebration with the flirt pole, have them on a leash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, but it's like you just gotta see what they give. If they give a lot of effort in the actual tug game, it's probably like the tug. Um, you know, certain toys can help with these kind of things, right? So it's like, you know, one of my favorite things is a ball on a string, and it's like because it's like you can toss it, but you can tug with it, right? And you can, you know, you can have a lot of dynamics with the ball on the string.
Yeah.
You can toss a tug toy and things, you know, but it's just like, I mean, shit, we've even put tug toys on a string.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then make it come alive. Um, because you can get the dog to chase it, but then you can have something really good to, you know, have a good confrontation with the dog.
Yeah, I love the toy on a string. I think it really, I think it's a good toy too for owners as well as they develop their like tug play. It's like, it's hard to understand the movements a little bit. So the tug on the string can help make it a little bit easier to add that dynamic
Yeah,
stuff in
it's like well,
there.
essentially, it's like you're bringing the toy to life,
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
it's like it's at the beginning, it's hard for you to make the toy come alive with your body, but it's easy to make it come alive with the string on it.
Yeah. This also got me thinking about, you're talking about watch your dog. Like, look at what they enjoy, and it kind of it makes me think of like parents who, parents of small children, and they're like, I'm putting my kid in, guitar lessons or some, whatever it is, right? And the kid's doing it, but they're just like, I'm not passionate about this, but
I
they're
want to
like,
play
you got to play
guitar.
guitar. And they're like, but I want to, I want to play the keyboard or I want to play the piano, I want to play the saxophone or something, you know what I mean? But like the parents like, no, you got to play the guitar, and it feels like because fetch is seriously, it's like, he doesn't play fetch. I don't know what to do with him now. Like
Yeah,
Lucy on your place. It's
one
like,
or nothing.
yeah, it's like one or nothing, and it's just like you're a dog, so you play fetch, and maybe we'll tug. You know what I mean? It's just
But it's
watch
like
your dog
yeah,
because
I
your
think
dog will
you know
tell you what they like.
I think like with that, you know, it's just like it's like your wants versus the dog's needs, right? Like, and what's your idea of it, like this? Okay, yeah, my like I know fetch, so I'm gonna get my dog, and that's what we have to play. Oh, you don't play fetch? I guess we're just walking now,
Yeah,
you
and
know.
then
And
I'm gonna
it's like,
continue to try to play fetch with you, and
yeah,
the dog's like, I fucking hate that game.
exactly. I want to tug, like you know what I mean? Like it just you know, but vice versa, right? It's like if someone only has the idea of tug, and it's just like no, your dog might be better at playing fetch, or you know, like you know. So I think fetch has like such a I think it just has like a very bad a bad rep with some stuff. like because it can be very good for certain breeds, right? But I think the problem is how it goes about being played. I was talking
It's
about this
just
earlier.
overused.
Overuse, and it's just this autopilot thing. The dog comes back, spits it out, bring it back, or it doesn't even fucking spit the ball out. You bring out another fucking ball and throw it,
Yeah,
and then now
and
you're just doing this thing, and it's just like there's no thinking, there's no control. So like I had a little list of like this stuff of like like incorrect playing, right? And it's just like if you have like no control and it's in autopilot, like you're just tiring the dog out, and you're just also so it's like as you do that, you're just like you're building more of this athletic dog, which isn't bad. It's not bad to create the athletic dog, but you're creating more athletic dog that you have no control over,
mhm.
right? And so it's like fetch isn't bad, but how you go out playing the game is what's wrong, right? So again, like I was saying, if you go to pick the ball with Chucky, and the dog's all the way out there, you throw it out, and now it's like, oh, you know what? Fido is like, all right, so now he caught the ball, but guess what? I have my second ball because he's just gonna chew that ball up. I now grab my second ball and I throw it the other direction. I walk over to that ball, pick it up. You know what I mean? And I know you
Yeah,
see this, and it's like that person's walking all over the park, so the dog can just continuously chase something. It's never
yeah,
once actually thinking. And so it's
yeah,
like teach the dog how to bring the ball back to you. Teach the dog how to wait for a cue to go get the ball. It's like you could start to actually teach a more of a retrieve than a fetch, right? To like instead of just like chase the ball. Like, no, wait, I'm gonna throw this. Balls hit the ground, it's bounced, and then you go get it. And now the dog is like, oh, it gets the ball, and then they have to bring it back to you.
that's actually what the game should be called. It actually should be called retrieve and
Retrieve.
not fetch because the dog's actually perfect at fetch. It goes and
It
fetches
goes
the
and gets
ball.
it. That's it, right? But it doesn't bring
That's
the
it.
ball back.
They're like, that's not fetch, bro. I know what fetch is. It means I go and I get the ball and then like that's it.
Like I can't tell you, man, how many times I see the same people go. Like I go to the same park every day, right? And I see the same people show up there with their dogs, and they're like, dude, it's like 20 minutes of throwing the ball, and I'm like, you do this every single day, like, and I'm like, I think about the dog's joints.
Yeah, that's another aspect on
I
too
think
much
about
fetch.
it a lot, right? Because it's just the same thing, same thing. It's like it makes me think like jujitsu, dude. It's like jiu-jitsu people, like when they have been doing the sport for a long time, like do they get bad hips, especially like people in competition like that are like training every day, they go through like the competition, right? Like they develop really bad hips because it's just overuse, you know what I mean? And then it's like where are is like things that can prolong it's like supplemental like training, right? You do like mobility stretches, stretching your hips out, you're doing things to help like counteract the stress that you're putting on these joints. Most dog owners aren't doing that kind of stuff with their dog. It's just like, hey, guess what? We're gonna go fucking chase the ball,
Yeah.
you know. Or they have them jumping. The dog bounces on the ground, and there goes the dog jumping after the ball. Like it's just constant stress, which can injure your dog, and also like I mean, make them immobile younger in life, right? Yeah, your dog may live to be 15, but from the ages of 10 to 15, it's like can barely walk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our own mom with a couple of her dogs, all both had to get knee replacements because of too much fetch.
Yeah, I think
Just
I don't think they replaced the knee. It was like but like multiple ligaments and knees that were having to be rebuilt.
yeah,
Ligament surgery stuff there, and it was
yeah,
too much fetch, right? But then there's like like that was their exercise,
yeah,
right? And so it's like you know like I just had Polka just went to the vet, right? And the guy's like, how's she doing for a senior dog, or should I say a middle aged dog, because she looks fantastic, But it's like Polka hasn't been just a strictly fetch dog. She's been tug. She's never been overweight. Like we do a lot of like we go walking, we play tug. We do fetch. We do exercises. Where it's like, hey, you're getting me these positions up and down. We go up and down stairs. So like there's like just like a lot of different things that go into creating muscle that I think help balance out stuff for her joints. Being her 12 years old, she's not slow to get up. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
and but it just goes into like what her life has been like getting to this point, right? I don't know what she's going to be like when she's 13, 14, 15, But it's just like at this point in time, it's like, the guy's like, yeah, she looks great for, she looks like a dog that's like 8 years old.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's awesome to hear. Makes me feel good because I want her to be around a long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to talk about though, like with this, so it's not just like with fetch, but this could also be with tug. So I briefly mentioned like, kind of like doing things incorrectly. And I guess it's going to be like incorrectly, but like what we need to avoid. Right. And so it's like, like not having control over this, dogs being on autopilot. But something I see in the parks with people is like extinguishing the desire to play, accidentally extinguishing the desire to play, right? And so it's like, let's say, like, and this I really feel falls into a tug category, right? And so it's like you see someone, the dog's tugging, and like here's the dog hanging on for dear life. You know what I mean? And it's like, all right, here we go, and it's like it's no longer fun for the dog, so they're like, fuck this, and then they check out, right? And it's like that dog doesn't want to play. I see it all the time. People will like, one, they don't show up to the park with any toys, so they're like, tree branch. And the dog's like, they're just tugging on the dog, and the dog doesn't get a chance to win, or they get it from the dog then, but then like the dog does work, and they make a miss, and then they make a miss, and then 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 miss, and now the dog checks out, starts to sniff at the ground, so then they throw the stick, and then the dog goes and chases the stick. Like that is killing the dog's drive to want to play that game.
Yeah.
Right? Because like if you want to play with the game, you have to build up the drive. Hey, you've got the toy in your mouth. Great. And guess what? You put some effort to try to win it. Oh, look at that. You won. Because if you do more of that, you're going to win the toy. So the dog's like, guess what? I want to win that toy. I'm going to try even harder the next time. Because you're going to be like, you're going to up the criteria of what it takes to get the toy. Mm-hmm. So they're like, I didn't get it. I got that last time, but I did get it last time. I'm going to do it a little bit more. Oh, you won. Good job. And they're like, oh, man, that worked. All right. And so it's just like when they go again the next round, you're like, I'm going to hold on to a little bit longer this time. And they're going to be like, well, this worked last time. Oh, it didn't work, but I have a history of winning. I'm going to keep going. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so it's like build the dog up instead of like accidentally like killing the desire to play. Right? I mean, again, this comes with being like very intentional with the game, being a part of the game, not just like, I want to tire you out. It's like, no, I want to play this game with you. A few years ago, I uploaded a video onto my YouTube page with Polga, and I was like, how long can I play with you consistently, continuously, like without no outs, no enough, just a continuous tug game. We did like literally like 15 continuous minutes of tug.
Wow.
15. I got the toy. Oh, like it just, but like there was a constant back and forth of like, yes, you would get to win it, but then we'd go back into the game, but it was like this, like if I wasn't aware of what was going on, I could have the game could have lasted a minute and then that was it. But it's like, think of how exhausting that 15 minutes was of that game. Like literally like 15 minutes. Like it's like, could you imagine a roll, 15-minute roll? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know we've done 10-minute rolls before, and you're tired after that.
Yeah.
And now you add 15, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it takes a lot of this, but also like from the dog and the human, but it's like, you got to be aware of what's going on.
Yeah. And I think that moves into this next point of focus. So, in this already, so we got 10 minutes left. We've talked about building rules. I don't know if we touched on confidence, but I think right now this will touch on that, getting better listening. I think it's all going to happen sort of with this idea of focus, right? So one thing I learned from that seminar was a nervous, unsure, insecure, fearful dog will still take food because food is a need. It's a survival mechanism, right? Dogs need food to survive. So your dog who's nervous outside could still take food. they might not, right? But they're going to be quicker to take food because if they miss a meal, they're going to be hungry and they're going to want to eat, and that has its place in training where, you can use it as a barometer for how your dog feels. But then the other thing he said was a nervous, unsure, insecure dog will not play. And because play isn't a survival thing, play is a want based activity, because your dog doesn't need to play to survive. It's it's good for them, but like we don't need play to survive. We need food, water, like shelter. It's like we don't even need shelter to survive. We just need food and water. Um,
And I
and
guess except in extreme moments, right? Extreme cold, extreme heat.
yeah.
But
Um, but being able to play with your dog for 15 minutes shows a strong level of focus because your dog isn't getting distracted by the world. And if you can get your dog to play with you, and this is something that I know Shane, the clients that you work with, the clients that I work with, is something that we strive for with them is like, can you play with your dog anywhere? Because if you can play with your dog anywhere, that is saying like your dog is confident. Your dog isn't worried about what's going on in the environment. They're not, what's that noise that happened behind me? Like, so they're confident. They're focused, right? They're like, which again is like, I don't care about what's going on in the environment. Me and you are engaging with each other. I am with you in this moment in time. The better listening, right? It's like if they're focused on the game and you can say out and they drop it, and then they re-engage again when you say yes and stuff like that. They're not just like, oh, out, and then going and, sniffing the ground or, doing something else. It's like you're getting that better listening, which in turn is going to, spread out into other areas because they're in a distracting environment and they are following that direction from you. Um, and I would feel they're more relaxed overall too, because they are again like they aren't worried about what's going on around them.
you know, as you say that, right? So it's like even like you said, let's say for example, right? You take a dog outside, you play with them, right? And then they hear a truck drive by or a dog bark, and they go, and they spit the toy out, but they look back at you, and you go, yes, you know what I mean? Or you run off with the toy, right? And so like at first they were like, that caused some concern for me, but then that happens again, and then they don't react to that,
Yeah.
right? But even then, it's like you could even provide the opportunity to, right? So it's like you go, all right, look at, oh, here comes a car, out, or they don't even care, they just stare at you, like, when are you going to give me that yes to bite the toy? You know what I mean? So it's like you can build the confidence of the dog and like desensitize them to things in the environment, right? You can provide the opportunity so where it's like, one could say like if they have a desire to play, it could almost act as a distraction to the environment, right? Because they're engaged in the game. That's like they're focusing on that task, right? But then if you can out here, guess what? Here comes that dog right there. You hate dogs. I want to play that game though. Do you know what I mean? Yes.
Yeah.
You let that dog pass by. You didn't act like a jerk, right? You can like counter condition the dog to things and be like, no, you don't need to worry about that stuff. Let's come back to this game, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. You
depending
can
on where
start to
level's
eat
at,
environment.
But it just like a lot of the stuff comes from like how the dog feels, and they're usually insecure. That's why they bark at the car. That's why they you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So usually that stuff comes out of like of insecurities, and it's like you can really like, don't worry about it, dude. Look at that. We can, because again, it's like you can do these kind of things with food, but again, like you're saying, it's like the food is a need, play is a want. Those are two totally different things.
Yeah. And yeah, so I'm always working with people to play with their dogs more because it's something that just does not happen enough. And honestly, for clients, it's like they go from walking their dogs an hour twice a day to, to turn those 2 hour walks into two 30-minute walks with the additional play in there. That's five minutes. 15 minutes is a long time to play, and most dogs don't even need that much time. 5 minutes, or even like I like to do rounds with dogs, so it's like do like 2 minutes of a little chase and then like a minute rest, 2 minutes rest, 2 minutes rest, and then like that on off drains them.
Well, there's more to it than just like the game, right? It's like you're showing. It's like yeah, it's like we're done. It's off. We're chilling out for a minute, right? Like you're
Yeah,
building up other skills in the dog to actually just like hey, relax.
yeah,
And I guess
exactly.
we're gonna go back at it, and so there's more things to it, right? Because again, even when you tell the dog, hey, we're doing our minute off, it's like you should be able to run around with that toy and to be live, and the dog's like, I get it, the game is done. There comes like this impulse control with this I was understanding from you, right? This had a little point that I wanted to talk about was like like the rules and boundaries of that comes in with the games, right? You start the game, you end the game, right? You give a cue when to come get the toy, even though you started, it's like come get the toy, right? Go get the toy. Like these are all things that come from you. And so it's like, as the owner of the dog, like you are instilling the rules, you're reinforcing the rules, right? And so it's like you're becoming something to pay attention to, right? Something
Mhm.
to listen to, right? You're also becoming believable because when you do this, you're following through with what you are expecting, right? You're following through with the rules. You're not just like, hey, I jumped at the toy, and you're like, I jumped at the toy, I got a guy. You're like, oh, I guess we're playing now. It's like, no, like, don't jump to get the toy. Like, I'll let you know when it's time to come and get the toy. Yes, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so it's like the more you have the clear rules, it's like those are going to translate into other areas
Yeah.
because you are believable when the dog wants something.
Yeah, which also I think just leads into like trust building. It's like your dog can trust your word,
Yeah,
and like, and I don't know if people really understand that concept of like, you know, like who do you follow? You follow people you trust, and like whoever it is, right? If someone is following someone, they trust them to some degree. Like you're not going to follow someone you don't trust, who's ambiguous, who's like, I don't. They said one thing and did another. It's like that's not believable leadership. You know what I mean? And like, we don't need to get into like who's a good leader, who's a bad leader. But like, generally speaking, I think people follow other people who they trust. They do what they say they're going to do, you know? Um, that, that in of itself is just like, I think that builds into, those lofty goals of people wanting, oh, I want this dog to like recall to me. And you know what I mean? It's like, it's all part of this bigger picture. Um, yeah, it's all just part of the bigger picture, because not everything, like nothing's in a vacuum, it's how you do one thing here is going to affect how you do another thing over here.
exactly.
All
Yeah.
right. So it's
So
12. We're
yeah,
going to wrap this up. Okay.
you know,
Um, Finishing up, this will be available to watch again, replay on Instagram, put it on YouTube there as well. If you want to think about play a little bit more with your dog, hit the link in our bio, schedule a call. We cover this stuff in depth in our lessons, in our online programs. There's a lot of avenues for you to do this, and sometimes this is a missing piece for a lot of people, because again, thinking about, it's like if you can play with your dog on demand, you got guests coming over, forget trying to go on a walk, like let's play for 5 minutes in the backyard, because I can get that when we need it. I can drain that excess energy from you, and now you are a more relaxed dog when I have people over. And it's just, it is such a valuable skill to have, and it is the most overlooked thing in a household with a dog.
and it also just goes like if you incorporate your play with your other aspects of your training, all of that just is going to get better, which is going to amplify everything. Like, play alone is awesome, but if you can add that into your training with your dog, like, it makes it all that much better.
Yeah.
Like, especially trying to get your dog off leash. If you play with your dog off leash, you know how much better that is for you and your dog than having them out on leash or a long line. Like, it's good.
Good. So yeah, hit the link in our bio, schedule a call. We'll talk about your dog, talk about your goals, and get lessons going. Or check out our other online courses. Also, till tomorrow, I'm probably gonna, I might give you until like midnight Sunday. But the 4-week essentials course is only $300 right now. It's gonna go up to $395, so $95 off. 4-week essentials. Get your dog from A to Z.
When's the start date for that?
June 1st.
June 1st.
Next class is going to start June 1st, and it's 4 weeks, weekly coaching calls to get you and your dog into a better space. Okay, that's all I have.
Excellent.
Happy Saturday. Yep, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.